Hello, friend. We are going to take a moment and take a look at the sacral inner authority. This, I'm a little biased. This is my authority, so I can give you some of my experiences with it, and I love it. So again, inner authority is a way for us to disconnect from the chaos and distraction of the conformity, homogenization, and conditioning, and reconnect with our own consciousness field. And yes, the consciousness field is, it's not ours. It is everyone's, and we're all connected. However, we came to have an individuated experience so that the consciousness field could expand through numerous experiences. So the consciousness field has asked us to be unique, be individual, and stop conforming, and have our own individuated experience in this life. So today we're going to chat about the sacral authority, or what we call in the in the business field, in the BG5, in the OC16, we call this follow your gut, because that's where it's coming from. Well, that's where the noise is coming from. So inner authority is a way for us to listen to our own consciousness field. And again, yes, I realize that we're all connected to one, but we came here to individuate in that oneness. So the inner authority brings back the power of your decisions back within the consciousness field, your own consciousness field. And the inner authority empowers you to live your own individualized life. I can't, and I probably, I'm going to reiterate this numerous times, billions of times. It isn't about conforming. Conformity is a killer. Conformity creates resistance, and that resistance is felt through our physical bodies, and our physical bodies become in a state of disrepair when the inner authority is not being the active decision maker. So the inner authority elevates the self-actualization to a place of pure awareness. So your inner authority assesses what's correct for you. The inner authority sets up the movie so you can watch it. The inner authority is the composer of the instrument you came here to play through. Your definition is your instrument. That instrument is unique to you. We can go, from the surface level, and that's where, we're all trained as human design analysts, BG5 consultants, OC16 consultants, keep people on the surface. But the surface is just a small piece of it. There is layers and layers and layers and layers of information to get you to your uniqueness. And I've been in this for, around 6.5 years as of today. And those layers are profound pieces of information, profound. However, if the surface is not being operated through the strategy, and that was of videos I did earlier, and your unique inner authority, and you're not allowing for that uniqueness of your own instrument to be played, then all those layers of information, the line and the color and the tone and the bass, they're absolutely useless. All it is candy for the mind. And The not self, oh geez, the more information it has, almost the more chaotic it gets if the strategy and authority are not being adhered to. When the strategy and authority are being adhered to and experimented with and used on a daily basis, then all that information becomes very profound because it plays out in the life. And it's like, okay, I get it. So, inner authority clears up the airwaves and tunes in your outer authority, okay? So, the instrument is your definition. The music that you're playing from that instrument comes in, the wisdom comes in through your openness and also goes out through your openness. And when it goes out through your openness, you want that to be the most highly tuned information that you're putting out through that openness. And you get there by making decisions based off of strategy and authority. When the radio that you're listening to is off by, point whatever, just the dial's off a little bit, it becomes very distorted. All this noise is coming out. And when we're making decisions based off of that chaotic not self, it's very distorted. It's amplifying the craziness. Turn on your TV for 1 minute. Holy shit, there's craziness out there. But when we tune into our instrument, when we have it fully tuned and we're operating through strategy and authority, we can put that dial on the exact radio station. And we can speak to those that can hear us. Those that are what we call in human design on our fractal. I'm not here to teach human design to 8 billion people. No, I'm here to teach human design to those that are on my fractal that can hear me. And who can resonate to the information. So inner authority clears up that communication. Because I don't have to be, I'm not in my head trying to figure this out. It's just authentically walking through my openness by holding on to and playing my instrument. So again, as I said earlier, I'm a little biased. The sacral center is also my inner authority. So as we walk through the hierarchy of this, as long as this emotional intelligence is white, it might have a few hanging gates off of it, that's okay. As long as this actual function or center right here is white, and this red square is colored in red, the sacral is your inner authority. Okay? The sacral is our reproductive center. It is the ovaries, the testes. And the sacral center is actually very grunty and very noisy. And it's all about a response. So if you noticed earlier in the type strategy and videos that I did, the generator, the manifesting generator, the classic builder, the express builder, that type is actually created through this red square being defined. Because what all of those types are, they are here to actually use their energy resource to build the Maya. We're here to physically use our bodies to do this. So what the sacral does is when it's all about response. It is, it's here to wait for people to really ask it for its energy. So if you have this defined, you're here to be asked for your energy. You know, it's to be requested from you so that you can respond through that grunting noise that happens. So the sacral center goes, uh-huh, or mm-hmm. There's this satisfying, I want to use my energy for this, what's being requested of me. Or, no, I have no energy for that request, none. And the request can be, you know, a human being asking you, the universe asking you, Facebook asking you, an email coming through, a text message, like, you know, we've evolved since this information was presented on planet Earth in 1987. And our world is, you know, full of technology. But the sacral center, follow your gut, is constantly responding. If you have this defined in your center, that's your whole life. You're responding. A bird sings, and there's either a response to look or not. You know, I live with somebody who this is not his inner authority. And, you know, I can walk into a room and there is no response from him. There's no movement because that's not his inner authority. But that's my inner authority. And I respond to everything. Like right now, there's a window in front of me and there's birds flying around. And there's times where my eyes connect with those birds out there. It's a response. You know, and other people, they don't even see that. It's not even an ability of theirs to do. So it's all about response. And here's the kicker. 70% of the population have this as their inner authority. So what are we doing to the other 30%? We're trying to condition them to be responders, and they're not. They're not here to respond. So that 70% of the population that's here to respond out of their gut, you know what also has happened is that 30% of the population has told us to start using our words and stop grunting. You know, I have a little nephew, this is his inner authority, and I love it. He's constantly, He is, you know, reiterating that he's in tune with his inner authority. Like, he's grunting all the time, and I love that. Because that is, you know, parenting him to not let that go. Because that's who he is. So the sacral center is all about response. The body is continuously responding day in and day out. And the noise that comes out of the sacral center, you know, it's an indication whether or not you're going to engage and use your energy resource and expend that energy or not. Okay? Now, here's a little bit of a caveat. Here's my experience with it. I'll just go here so that we can see my design. Do you see how the sacral has this channel? It's called the channel of charisma, and it's the 3420. This is what we call a pure manifesting generator. My experience with the sacral is that with it connected to the throat, there is a movement that the body actually does. Not always does my body grunt, but there's always a movement towards or away from something. Now, I'm just telling you this because this is my experience. I want you to play with this information. So if your inner authority is the sacral, play with getting in tune with that movement You know, even if you don't have that particular channel of charisma as your definition, just play with what the movement is. Most likely, it's going to be very grunty. Like when I'm having a conversation with people, I really, really grunt. But a lot of times when I'm being asked, there's more so a movement there. Yes, there's times where I grunt, but there's more so a movement that takes place. And what I really have become aware of, and when I look back, what I used to call it was my intuition. But now I actually know it as what it really is, and it's the energy resource. It's my response in my body. And there will be times where I just move. I have absolutely no idea why I'm moving until I get to where I'm going and the awareness is there. So again, something for you to play with, just sharing my experience with it. So listen for your guttural noises. And if you have children that have this as their inner authority or have this defined in their bodygraph, don't stop them from grunting, because that's conditioning. Allow them to grunt, because that is their attunement to their inner self. And we want to align to that inner self, that inner authority. So play with the gruntiness, pay attention to the movement, and then just watch how your body responds. Another thing that my body does is, you know, I'll nod, shake, nod, and it's happening. And, you know, I have watched this, and my mind, my not self mind, will say things and my response to my body is doing something totally different. And I've watched it do that. And then I'm like, okay, hold on a minute. That's how quickly it happens. The not self mind will try to override what my body's doing. Okay. And I'm very aware of it. I watch it happen, and it's kind of funny to me, but I study this and I live it to the best of my ability. And the more I live it, the more aware of those things that I become. So that's what will happen. And like I say, life isn't like all rainbows and sunshine just because you have this information. It's an experiment, and you get to play with it. And then you get to watch how powerful the not self really, really is. So that nodding of the head, shaking, that's all a response. And what's really funny is that my husband calls me a rubberneck, because again, this is not his inner authority. So that's not what he's doing. His body is not responding like that, but mine is. So when him and I have a conversation, I'm either like, I'm in it, I'm like right there, or I'm like, no, right? So there's constantly a response taking place in my body. And he thinks it's kind of funny, right? Because that's not what he does. So watch this and play with it. And if you're not a being that has the sacral defined in your body graph, you know, watch how powerful this center can become and how it can actually condition you to grunt. So people, and I watch this when I do group workshops, and I'll have so many people in the room, and I know all their designs because that's why we're there. And I watch how the projectors and the manifestors are the ones that start to grunt. And the manifesting generators and generators that are actually built to grunt, they stop it. They stop doing it. So that is the conditioning field. And that's how subtle it can become. And then when I introduce that and present that information to the group, all of a sudden everybody can just relax into their type. Because the pressure, I shouldn't even say pressure, because the sacral is actually a motor, so it's not pressurized, but it could be pressurized if it was connected to the root center. But there is that powerful, because like this center's running, it's running our universe. You know, the aura that this creates is one that is open and enveloping. That's the law of attraction. So this is the universe, and it can powerfully condition you, or you can become super, super aware of it. So play with this, and you know, when you're with a group of people and you know their designs, just watch how subtle it becomes. You know, I could be sitting with 4 projectors and just be me, and all of a sudden they're the ones that are grunting. So it's really powerful. And then when I bring it to their attention, they're like, oh, I said, like, does that feel natural for you to do it? And they're like, actually, no, it doesn't. And what's really funny is if you ever listen to any of Ra's, watch his videos or listen to his audios or any of that on the Jovian Archive site, what's funny is that when he tries to make these sacral noises, like it is hilarious, because you can totally tell he's like it's not second nature. And when I'm around projectors and they start doing it, I can tell by the tone of it that it isn't, you know, even if I know their type or not, even if I have their design, I can indicate by the way they grunt that it is it's not in their nature. It is something that they have been conditioned to do, and they do that conditioning, and it sounds so awkward. So that's what's fun about human design, is when you can see both sides of it. You can see the duality of it. You can see the natural flow of it, and you can see the conditioning field. And of course, we have to have this dualistic reality. Totally have to have it. I totally get that, because that is the reality that we're in. We're in a dualistic reality. The sameness is, you know, can't expand without having a positive and negative. It can't expand. So that's the fascinating piece of the power of this information. Because when you get good at it, understand it, and are living it, all of this stuff becomes very, you become very aware of it, and you become very aware of who's in your environment, right? You become aware of that next actor that walks onto your stage. They have a conversation with you, and it's like, okay, I get it. Anyways, that's going a little bit deeper into some information. But anyways, if this is your inner authority, you know, pay attention to your noises, pay attention to the movement that the body wants to do, and expend your energy correctly for you. You know, this is largely all about using this energy in a satisfying way. If the not-self mind is trying to run the life, frustration is going to be the feeling. And frustration is, is resistance. And it will break down your instrument. All of a sudden, a string breaks. Or the skin on your drum cracks. That's what happens because we're using that instrument incorrectly. Okay, have fun experimenting. So I've done a few videos and I thought, I need to have my design back here so that people can actually see who I am. And if there's resonance, it's fun to see my design, and then you can, play around with that for yourself. So again, been studying this for a while, been living it, been watching it, been seeing how I have evolved through it, how people that I coach and those people that allow me into their designs and ask me to be in their designs. I love it. So if any of this intrigues you, or creates a response, or feels like an invitation to explore a little deeper, or something in this information initiated you to move forward, let me know. Contact me. This stuff is fun for me, and not only fun, but the profundity of it is a game changer, especially in the business world. And that's really, I love to get my meat hooks into that. Our world is evolving, and when we can, be on that leading edge and integrate the thought leaders of today with the human design system, there's absolutely nothing more powerful. So thank you very much for your time, and have fun with your